We are going to go ahead and get started. Um, so, good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending this webinar. Hopefully, you'll find it worthwhile. This presentation was put together. I recently attended a seminar, and it got me thinking about a number of different things. And one of the things that was sort of an epiphany for me is looking at using the customization tools in the new Toshibas to create differentiation. And so I thought it would be worthwhile to share this with everyone. So the challenge that we all face is we all know that what happens when something becomes a commodity, the lowest price ends up getting the deal, which is why we're always trying to differentiate our solution from everyone else's. The challenge that we have, though, is that virtually all of the MFPs have the same core features and capabilities, making it that much more difficult to differentiate our solution. So the good news is, as you probably already know, the Toshiba MFPs offer an insane amount of customization capabilities. And despite what you may think, it's very easy to do. And the great thing is it doesn't cost anything. You're not adding anything to the cost of your solution. That being said, conservatively, probably 80% of the MFPs out there across Canada are in their standard configuration right out of the box. So we're not taking advantage of this huge gift we've been given. So, and again, as I mentioned, customization is a great way to create differentiation. So the easiest thing to do is to just simply change the background. From the standard out-of-the-box background, and you can pick one of the pre-configured backgrounds, or you can upload your own. So again, this is something that should be done for every single demo. It's incredibly easy to do, so there's no excuse to not do it. And it can really make a lasting impression in your demo. Step-by-step instructions are available, but again, as I mentioned, it's extremely easy to do. There are some restrictions or limitations on the type of file that can be uploaded if you're going to upload your own image. The easiest way to do this is use Microsoft Paint, which is a utility that comes with Windows right out of the box. So I'm just going to exit out of the presentation for a second and show you how easy it is to do. So as you can see here, I have a JPEG file called Sunset Picture. JPEG is probably the most common file format you're going to find on the internet. So you go on the internet, you find a nice picture of your customer's building or whatever it is that you want to use for your custom background. The problem is it's in a JPEG, which you cannot upload. So that if you right click on it and say open with, and then you pick Microsoft Paint, it's going to open up in Microsoft Paint. Now you're going to have to resize it to the proper size. So if you go up, you're going to see this resize button. So you click on resize, and by default, it's going to open up percentage. You go to pixels, and you can see that this is too large to upload. It's 2,000 pixels by 1,338. So we want to get it into a pixel format of 800 by 480. So if we change this to 800, right, you'll notice that the bottom one is still too large. It's 535. The reason for that is this maintain aspect ratio has been checked off. So if we uncheck that, then that will allow us to change that bottom one to 480, and we hit OK, and now you can see that our picture has been resized, and now it's just simply a matter of going save as, and instead of saving it as a JPEG, we're going to go up here and save it as a PNG, right? And you click on save, and that's it. Now it's in a file format that can be uploaded to the MFP. So now we've got the control panel looking great. So this is good, but it's not great. There's more that we can do. To this point, the customization has been cosmetic, but we can take it to the next level, right? On a side note, when you get a new cell phone or a new smartphone, what's the very first thing that you do when you take it out of the box? Most people will probably, to make it easier to use, they'll delete any icons that they don't use or don't need. They'll move the most frequently used icons to the first screen and then move all of the other stuff to the second or third screen. Okay? So why not do the same with the MFP? So again, you can, to make it more customized, you can delete any unused buttons. Some examples might include the language button, right? simple copy and simple scan if the client's not going to use them. Especially if you're upgrading an existing Toshiba customer, they're already familiar with the copy and the scan interface. So by having the simple copy and the simple scan, it might just create confusion. So easiest thing to do is you can just delete those, right? Same thing with fax. If they don't have the fax board installed, you can actually remove the fax icon to make it simpler, right? You can move unfrequently used buttons to the second screen. Some examples might include the counter, user functions, or even e-filing if they're not using e-filing, right? So once you've done that, you now have a very simple, clean walk-up screen that can be extremely powerful in a demo, especially for non-Toshiba accounts. It's also great if you have a large install or a large group, especially of casual users that aren't that familiar. So again, it makes it extremely simple and easy to use. With the latest version of firmware, you now have the ability to even change the font size and color. One of the limitations when creating custom backgrounds is the white text is very difficult to see if you have a light colored background. Now that you have the ability to change that text to black, you can now use lighter colored backgrounds if you want for your background. Okay. You're probably already aware you can change the size of the icons to small, medium, or large. You may not know you can even change the buttons themselves. Instead of using the pre-configured buttons that come loaded on the MFP, you can create custom buttons and upload them. The process is almost identical to creating that background image. Again, obviously the pixel size is going to be smaller because it's a button instead of a large background. So the maximum image size is 154 by 102 pixels. But a tip is if you want a square button, you can create a button that's 102 by 102 pixels and you'll have a nice square button. So again, the process of doing this is exactly the same as doing the background. You can see I have the Google Maps icon here and it's in a JPEG file format. So I say open with, and I'll go down to Microsoft Paint, and there it is there. So now I'm going to go resize and go to pixels, and you can see it's 255 by 255, which is too large. If we change that to 102 by 102, now we can upload it, right? And again, file, save as, PNG file, and that's it. Done. Now it can easily be uploaded. So, and again, step-by-step instructions are available as well. When we first launched these products, there was job shops and tutorials. If anybody needs that and is looking for it and can't find it, reach out to either Albert or one of your RSM, and they'll be able to help you out. Okay, so now we've got the MFP looking great and increased the functionality by customizing the icons, but we can still do much better. So let's kick it up another notch. In my opinion, the most powerful button that can be added to the MFP is to add a button from job history. So you can literally save the settings from the most recent jobs to a button. And the reason this is so significant is it literally allows you to create custom features. I'll explain that more in a second, but your customers will absolutely love it. It makes things extremely easy for the users. It simplifies specific or complex tasks and workflows. You can even combine the features to create, again, for very specific requirements. The key to this is to understand the prospect's needs and then be creative and use your imagination. So to give you a real world example of how this came into play, one of our clients had a requirement that they wanted. So normally when you photocopy something that's been highlighted in red magic marker in text photo mode, you can see through that red marker and it comes up gray and you can still see through the gray. What the client wanted was when they photocopied that original, they didn't want to be able to see through it. They wanted it blacked out to hide confidential information. They referred to this task as red out redaction. Did you know that we actually have a red out redaction feature? Probably not, because we don't, but again, we do, which is, I know it sounds kind of confusing. But so again, the key to this whole thing is what we found out later is our client requested this feature, and we were the only bidder that submitted a proposal that said that we had a readout redaction feature. Everyone else said, no, we can't do that. So how did we do it? Well, you're going to laugh when you find out how we did it. All we did was we put it from text photo mode to text mode, and we darkened up the exposure a little bit, and we got it to the point where we were happy with the output, and then we saved that as a button and called it readout redaction. So that gives you a real world example of how simple this can be and how powerful it can be. So your only limitation is your imagination. I've give you a list of some ideas to kind of get the gears turning, but you can create a button called fax cleanup, and you can use image editing to remove the header of fax machines and get rid of the date and the time and all that information. Check scanning or receipt scanning, right? So again, scan to file or email with the outside erase turned on. Actually, Derek out in the East Coast, my counterpart out in the East Coast, he came up with an application for check copying. And what he did was he used the ID card copy feature. But instead of telling the client, well, you can use the ID card copy to still copy checks because it does the same thing, instead of calling it ID card copy, he just changed the name to check copy. So again, to create less confusion for the clients. Again, you can even get really creative and create a button called mistake-free copying, which is 2-to-1 with omit blank page. So it doesn't matter if the originals are single-sided, double-sided, or a combination, you still don't lose any pages and don't have any blank pages. So again, try to use names based on what the button does, not how it does it. So an example that I use is you can create a button and call it process a new resume, not scan to HR, right? You can also create buttons to web pages. Again, most of you are probably aware of this already, but some examples of where this might come in handy is, again, you can create a button, download the customer's logo, create a button to their intranet site. You could, create a button to the Weather Network, Google Maps, or your own dealer's website, right? So the nice thing with personalizing the MFP is, again, you can tailor it to specific applications and workflows, make it extremely easy to use. It creates differentiation. It's very difficult for your competition to match, and it's impossible for your competitors to match if they don't uncover the applications, right? So again, if done right, this can I believe it can truly win you deals. So for example, this is one that we did for a demo a few weeks ago. You can see we uploaded the picture of a job site for the customer. We didn't really change the icons. We just left the sort of the standard ones, but we renamed them a little bit. We did create one additional button. They had a requirement to email back to yourself or myself. The neat thing is that we uploaded the Black and McDonald logo, and at first glance, it looks like that's just a logo that was added onto the picture, but it's actually a button. And when you press the Black and McDonald logo, it actually takes you to their website. So again, little things like that can leave a lasting impression in a demo. This was a custom background that Derek Morrison out on the East Coast created. And again, you can see this is a good example of using the black font instead of the white font to make it very easy to see. Again, very, very simple control panel, makes it very easy to use. You can also use the apps to further differentiate yourselves, right? So without apps on a cell phone, out of the box, you've got very limited functionality, right? You can make calls, send text messages, you've got a calendar, an address book, but that's pretty much it. So to that extent, without any apps, the MFP has the same limited functionality, copy, print, scan, and a fax if you got the fax board installed. So you can't really, it's difficult to imagine a cell phone without any apps. Almost everybody has at least one app installed on their smartphone, right? No two cell phones are configured the same way. And the reason for that is that it provides custom functionality to the user. So why should all MFPs offer identical functionality as well, right? So again, you're probably already aware that we have the free cloud services apps. So your connectors for Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive. We also have the new paid Office 365 app. I'm not going to get into great detail on what that is because that's already been covered in previous webinars. But again, it's a great way to connect the MFP with anyone who's using Office 365. Right? We have the Google Cloud Print and the AirPrint and so you can print from your Android and BlackBerry or Android and iOS devices. We've got the eBridge Print and Capture app. We also have the paid software solutions, or you can also refer to them as paid apps, right? So again, we're not going to go into detail about these software solutions, but that is another way of further differentiating yourselves. Okay, so in closing, the greater the customization, the greater the differentiation. That hopefully would go without saying, and it should hopefully increase your chances significantly of getting the deal. Not only that, but another way of looking at this is if you're successful in getting the deal, not only do you get the deal, but it also raises the bar and sets the standard for future upgrades. So once your client has gotten used to something like a readout redaction or fax cleanup or all of these things, when they're going to go to upgrade, they're going to demand that, or they're going to want that on their next MFP. And again, it makes it more and more difficult, because if a sales rep goes into that call and doesn't understand the client's requirements, so they don't necessarily know how you're doing all this stuff, they're going to say, do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have that? And chances are they're going to say, well, no, we don't do that. I don't know. No, we don't have that. We don't have that. We don't have that. So again, it raises the bar. So thank you very much for your time. We'll now move on to any questions. If you have any questions and you want to reach me. Okay. So again, I thank you all for your time, and have a great day.